Shalom Yalakam, family. I'm back with another video. This one today gonna be about law-abiding citizens. And what I mean by law-abiding citizens, I mean as it pertains to the law, the laws of the Most High, the laws He gave to Moses, the decrees, the testaments, the statutes, the ordinances, the commandments, you know, all of that throughout the Bible that He gave us, all of that are law. All of those are laws. And we're gonna speak on our desire to be lawless and not follow laws. Sorry about that. Yeah, we're gonna speak on our desire to be lawless and not follow laws. We try to find every excuse for it, and most of the people, the so-called church folks and the Christians, people like they try to use Paul to be lawless. And I wanted to touch on it. Because they always try to show you scriptures where Paul say the law is done away with. We under a new law. We under a New Testament. Christ nailed the law to the cross when He was nailed to the cross. All of that. We're gonna go through all of that. He got nailed to the cross, and He said He nailed the law to the cross. The law was done away with, and all these things. But there's nonsense, because I'm gonna show you scripture to where Christ said Himself that, first of all, He said Himself, "Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures and not knowing the power of the Most High, Allah." Yeah, so you don't know the power and you don't know your scriptures. So that's why I just sit back and let people talk. Because if you know your scriptures, if you take your scriptures morning, noon, and night, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you'll know who know their scriptures just by listening to them talk. When they talk about the scriptures, just listen to them. Either they're gonna be in alignment with the scripture, or they're gonna be in error. And so when you listen, you will hear it. And so He gave that scripture, "Ye do err, not knowing the scriptures." And then also Christ Himself said that heaven and earth will pass away before one jot or tittle pass away from the law of Moses. And for those of y'all who don't know what one jot or tittle means, it's like punctuation. It's like one apostrophe won't be out of place. One, like we always say, dotting our I's and crossing our T's. Not one I will be without a dot, and not one T will be without a cross. Like not one jot or tittle will pass away from the law at all. You see what I'm saying? It say heaven and earth will pass away before one jot or tittle pass away from the law. He said, "I have not come to abolish the law of the prophets." He said, "In fact, I've come to fulfill the law." He said, "I have not come to abolish it." So now we have the master saying this. And this is important because this is the master. He told you salute no other man. He told you don't call no man rabbi, which means teacher or preacher. Don't call no man father, like the Catholics call their priest father. He said, you only have one Father, that is your God in heaven. He said, you only have one teacher or one rabbi, and that's Christ. He said, don't call a man master, which rhymes with pastor, because you only have one master, which is Christ. You see, so if He said out of His mouth, who has the power to overturn it? No one. So now we're going to go to next in line. He had it. This is even before Paul came along. This is chronological. Paul was nowhere in the picture at this point. He was with his disciples, and he asked them, "Who do you think I am?" And some of them said, "Oh, some people say you this person, you this person, you that person." But Peter said, "You're the Son of God." He asked Peter, "How did you know that?" Surely I didn't tell you that. He said, "You know, my father." I'm paraphrasing, so I'm gonna put the scripture up. He said, "My Father in heaven had to reveal that to you." He said, "So Peter, on this rock, I'll build my church." You know what I'm saying? So he appointed Peter a position of leadership at right then and there. And then you see the other scripture that says that a wise man builds his house on a rock. I bet y'all didn't think to correlate those two scriptures before that. So now, knowing he placed Peter in a position of leadership over the other disciples and apostles, let's go to what Peter said on the teachings of Paul. He said, beware of the teachers and the epistles of our beloved brother Paul. We love him. But if you're not well versed in the scriptures, going back to when Christ said, ye do err, not knowing the scriptures. Peter said, if you're not well versed in the scriptures, that Paul and his apostles and his teaching would lead you into error, would potentially lead you into error and darkness. Okay, now let's go to Paul. When Paul did his journeys and went out preaching and teaching after Christ gave him his sight, took his sight and gave him his sight back, he went on a journey. He went to a lot of different lands and touched a lot of different people. When he came back to Jerusalem, this was the end of his journeys. He met with Peter and the other head disciples and the other apostles. And they told him, we heard about the good works you've been doing, the thousands of people you've reached and you've preached to. They said, they told him, but they had two things against him. He made two mistakes. He taught not to follow the laws of Moses, and he taught you don't have to be circumcised. They said you did, basically paraphrasing, they said you did everything else good except for these two things. They had two things against him that they held against him. They said that you taught to disregard Moses or disregard the laws of Moses, and you taught that you didn't have to be circumcised. So they told him, because you did that, we have some brothers here that have to go through a purification ritual. So they told him to shave his head and join those brothers and purify himself for his mistakes that he made. Now, if you read, you don't read anywhere where Paul disrupted, disregarded, had anything to say about it. They sent Paul to have a purification ritual with four other brothers, I think. And Paul didn't give him no pushback on it. He accepted his wrongs. He didn't say, nah. He accepted the fact that he was in error. He didn't give him any pushback when they told him you were in error with these two things that you taught. He accepted it, and I'm going to show you why he accepted it. Because now, when in the book of Romans, when Paul went to Rome, see, Paul never went to Rome until he left Jerusalem as a prisoner. And they took him before Caesar because he asked to go before Caesar. So they took him to Rome. So this is when he wrote the book, Romans. See, in the book of Acts, all of Paul's books are supposed to be in the book of Acts. As he was doing his journeys, the Thessalonians, the Colossians, the Corinthians, Galatians, all of those books and stuff like that, those books are supposed to be in the book of Acts, because that's when he wrote those books, when he was traveling to those places. And Rome was his last stop. He was in prison in Rome. He died in Rome. So when he wrote Romans, he wrote that you should obey the law of Moses. So now when you know how to put things in chronological order, you will see when he was out there preaching, yeah, he was preaching and he made some errors. But once he came to Jerusalem and got corrected by Peter and them, he went back, he got taken back to Rome, and he preached his correction. You see it. And so when we out here saying, oh, we don't have to follow law, Paul said this, Paul said that, Paul was corrected, and then Paul corrected himself. But see, we won't even be corrected to even correct ourselves. I know a lot of people won't stand for correction. They always give you some pushback. I showed this to a person, and she was like, "Oh, well, why would God let that in the Bible? If Paul made them mistakes, why would God let that in the Bible?" To show that Paul didn't get no pushback like you doing when he was corrected. When Paul was corrected, he didn't get no pushback. He accepted it, shaved his head, and went. You know, shave your head is a sin, unless you're going through a type of ritual that calls for you to shave your head. Yeah, you don't just shave your head just to shave it. Go to barber shop and get bald fades and taper fade. You don't shave the sides of your head. That's forbidden. When you know better. So Paul wouldn't have never shaved his head if he knew he wasn't in error. He accepted that. But you get a person who's shown inscriptions, now they like, oh, well, why God did let that in the Bible? Because out of the 100 things Paul did, he did 98 right. And you saying the Most High should have took everything Paul did out of the Bible because he made them 2 mistakes. Now he showed you that Paul made them 2 mistakes. Paul was corrected for them 2 mistakes, and then Paul corrected himself. He corrected those 2 mistakes. Yeah. So that's all I got for this one today. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long. I'll be back soon with another video. I'm debating on what topic. I don't want to try to script nothing, because you can't script the scriptures. You know what I'm saying? They already. It's just, you got to just go with the flow of, you know what I'm saying, how life going. You know what I'm saying? What's the topic for today? What we're going to talk about today? So I ain't going to just be like, oh, the next one we're going to talk about this, because we might not talk about that. So I'll be back soon with another one. Y'all be safe. Y'all be blessed. Y'all alaikum shalom.